So I want to start this video on the laser engraver, talking about the first thing you need to do when you come over here to the laser engraver. You have to turn on the ventilation system, and that can be done with this small switch on the wall. It's right on the corner of the wall. You can see the corner there. Right in the corner there's that, it's a turn dial. So you turn this on. You can hear those vents turn on. Then you're ready to make your way over here to the laser engraver, laser cutter. If you're engraving something, there's no need to use the compressed air option. If you are cutting through a piece of material, you should use the compressed air option. That'll prevent, or help prevent fires from happening. So if you are cutting through a piece of material, down on the engraver itself, there's a power strip. Right down here. This power strip turns on compressed air. You can hear you can hear the air compressor pump turn on. You can turn it on and off. But just know that that is different from the ventilation system that we just turned on over on the wall. Remember that they're two separate things. The one down here on the machine, it's compressed air. It blows right where the laser is cutting or etching and prevents fire from happening. Over on the wall, that's ventilation. It pulls fumes out through this tube. So if there's vapor or smoke from whatever that laser is cutting or etching, it pulls that out. This must be on 100% of the time when you use the laser. The compressor required when you're doing vector lines and cutting, okay? Not necessarily, you don't necessarily need to have it on when you're doing raster etching. So now let's continue to the operation of the laser engraver. There will be a separate video that covers the software and how to get your files sent to the machine, but this video is strictly covering the operation of the machine. So we're going to look at how to turn it on, how to set the focus, how to set the origin point, and how to send your file. Power switch for the machine is back here on the left-hand side of the machine, on the bottom near the back. Right next to that power cord. Turn the machine on, you'll see the display here light up. It'll beep, it'll reset to a starting point. So at this point you're ready to load your material and set the focus and set the origin point. So I first want to talk a little bit about materials. If your material is a fresh piece of material like this, where you've got the whole surface area there to etch or engrave or to cut, you can use the autofocus feature in the software. If you have a piece of material like this that has already been cut and you're just using a small piece of it, there's a whole scrap bin of material over here next to the machine where we've got a lot of offcuts like this that have been previously cut but still have a lot of usable space on them. If you're cutting something like this, you should not use the autofocus because the autofocus mechanism will go down and hit the surface. But if it hits one of these areas over here, if it goes and focuses like this, it'll go right through the material. It won't find that surface. So if you have something that's already been cut, don't use the autofocus because it may hit one of these areas and it won't focus right, and the autofocus mechanism can kind of get caught in there and it does goofy things. So I want to show you how to manually focus on a piece of material like this. Then when you look at the software, I'll show you how to autofocus. So here's your control panel. You first want to find the button that says focus and push it. As you push it, you'll notice this mechanism back here is going to move. There it goes. So it brings it out a little bit. So this is the mechanism you want to look at. You want to place your material on the bed. Now you can see I have these areas that are cut out. So the autofocus mechanism is back here. See this little thing? That's your autofocus mechanism. Now you notice if it drops down right now to focus, it's going to drop in one of these holes. So that's where you can have issues. To manually focus, you use the card that's strung up to the machine. Looks like this. focus card. There it is. Just a small piece of cardboard. It's cut to exactly 2 inches. Where are we here? 2 inches from the top edge to the bottom edge. So the way you're going to use this card is you set it upright. It gets set upright, and we'll push underneath this lens. So let me put the focus card right here. This is the surface that you're measuring from here to your material. So this right here, see it's the bottom of this lens is where you want to put the material, not down here, not down here, but this surface right here. And so stand that card up on end, and you want to slide it. You see, notice how it doesn't slide underneath there right now. I'm hitting this surface, so I need to use the control panel again. There it is. And right next to the focus button, there's up and down. Okay? These up and down buttons are going to raise the whole surface of the bed. So here's a zoomed out version so you can see the whole thing. This focus button, next to it there's an up and down button. Up and down buttons are going to control the surface of this bed. It's going to move the whole bed up and down. So when I press down, that whole bed lowers down. When I press up, that whole bed raises up. So with this piece of material, you can bring the bed up. And I move that card up and down until it doesn't move anymore. So you press just a single press, you'll hear it kind of chirp, and it moves it in a real small increment up or down. And there it is. So let me show you one more time in a zoomed in on this over here so you can see what's going on. I keep this card set on my piece of cutting material, press the up button until I get close. You can see how I'm moving it up and down. As I bring the bed up, it stops moving right about there. Okay? Now you can kind of rock it back and forth, but there's no gap between the bottom of this lens and your material. That is the proper focus. Now, in order to set your origin point, you don't the image you're trying to cut or engrave, you don't want it to cut on top of these. You want to find a clean surface out here where it's not been used. So you need to set this to a specific starting point. The way you do that is you turn on the pointer. So there's a pointer and it's just a small little red dot. You can do that on the control panel out front here. On the far right, there's a button that says pointer. The little light down here will light up, and you'll see underneath pointer off, pointer on. That identifies where your starting point is, and that starting point is going to be the top left of your document. So in order to set this starting point, you're going to move this, but it won't move right now. And you don't want to move it. You want to turn the mechanism off that's holding this in place, and then you can move this. It'll move really easy. You can just touch it with your finger and it'll move, piece of cake. The way you turn that mechanism off is on the control panel. So on the control panel, to turn the mechanism off, you press this button that says XY off. Again, this machine works on an X and Y axis. You press the XY off and it asks you a question. Do you really want to turn it off? Go or stop? So go is yes, stop is no. Do you want to turn XY off? Yes. Green button, go. When you turn that off, that's going to allow you to move this bar and this laser. So these should move very easy. I could just touch it with my finger and it moves one direction. This bar, the same thing. Just with one finger it moves back and forth. You shouldn't have to force it. If you try and push it really lightly and it doesn't want to move, you haven't turned the X and Y axis off over here, or you haven't hit the go button to say, yes, I really do want to turn it off. So this should move really easy. You can set this to your starting point, find a space where whatever you're trying to cut or engrave will fit, knowing that this red dot will be the top left corner of your document. Once you've got that red dot set in the point that you want to be the starting point, the origin point, you're going to come back over here to the control panel and you're going to press right next to the button that says XY off. You'll press the set home button. You can check that by pressing the reset button. Reset is going to bring that red laser point back to its origin. So if it doesn't move, that means that your origin is set properly. If this moves back over here to the corner, then it means your origin point didn't set properly. After you press that set home button, if you hit go, it's going to automatically send your file. I press go here, it says no job yet because I have not sent my job from the computer. But if you were to press go, it would send that automatically. The only time the go button's not going to send your file is if you just pressed the XY off button and it's asking you the question here on the screen, do you want to turn XY off? And it doesn't say do you want to, it just says XY off question mark, go stop. So that go stop button is yes, I really want to turn the XY off. It's XY disabled, or no, I don't want to turn the XY off. So at this point, after you've set your home, you can press the go button and it's going to send your file. You'll want to close the lid, press go. Your design will begin etching or engraving or whichever process you choose in the software. So make sure to check out the software video before you come over here to the machine so that you know what you're doing both here and over on the computer.